Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us as we get ever closer to Vermont Town Meeting Day coming up on Tuesday, March 5th. And we've got a bunch of shows, a few more to do, and happy to have two key people with the town of Swanton today. Earl Fournier, the Swanton Selectboard Chairman, Brian Savage, the Swanton Town Manager. Good to see you folks. Thanks for jumping into the fray here. And we got producer Alan Cunningham doing the hard work out there. I should note, boy, Earl, you're, I guess, lucky you in a way. 3 seats on the Swanton Select Board up. You're the only one who does not have a contest. I assume you're not probably too worried about a late write-in campaign from somebody, right? Sounds like you're in pretty good shape for a three-year term.
Yeah.
And I should note the 2 contests, and I've talked to 2 of the candidates in one of the races, and we'll be talking to the other 2. Incumbent Select Board member Nicole Draper being challenged by Alan Letourneau for a 2-year term, and Joel Clark appointed to the board, I guess, late last year after Ed White stepped down. Joel Clark running for the last year on what would have been Ed White's term, running against Amy Raymond. So a couple of contests in Swanton Town. In your case, Earl, easy decision to hang on the board for another 3 years, or not so easy?
Well, I had to consider it. It's certainly a lot of things going on now, and the way things are done today are different than what they used to be.
Probably takes
social media, digital communication are not my strong points, and
you're probably ahead of me.
Well, maybe, but I doubt it. And that does create some difficulties in today's world, in today's government. It's not so much conversations with people, it's information being flown back and forth.
So a very different world.
Yeah, very different world, but...
And probably a lot of people would say probably not a better world, or some, I guess it depends who you are.
Well, there are certainly benefits, but it's created a lot more problems probably than it's solved, the way I see it anyways. But there's a lot of things going on in Swanton, and, I wanted to see if we could see some of them through. And it's just a tough time right now, too, tax-wise, property tax-wise, very difficult, but there's still things we need to do. And, it's a lot like being on the farm, I farmed all my life. It's not a real profitable occupation, but you still have to get things done, and I hope I can continue bringing that attitude, and done right, but done in an affordable way. Because I like to see Swanton, grow in a way that's going to make it a stronger community.
Yeah, for Swanton again, and I certainly haven't come close to checking all the Franklin County towns, municipalities for what's going on, but I got to think Swanton's pretty much at the top of the list between the village and town. 2 contests in the village, 2 contests in the town, bunch of articles in the town. Of course, the biggie in the village, the proposed public safety facility. A lot going on. In fact, talking to one of the Swanton Select Board candidates, kind of kept mentioning the public safety facility. And I said, that's a big issue around here, I realize, but that is a village vote, not a...
Yeah, it is. It is. Basically, the select board position right now is we're going to wait and see what happens at town meeting time, what the village residents decide, and then, we'll have to go from there. The town residents have pretty much said that they didn't feel what was being proposed as affordable.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to argue that point. So, we'll have to come up with something depending on what the outcome of town meeting day's vote by the village residents is on the new facility.
Yeah, and of course, a police issue before the town. You're looking for about $475,000 for police protection, and that's up significantly.
It's up significantly, and I'll let Brian explain what's driving that.
You get a little more coverage, Brian. At this point, you're getting coverage for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, and under that proposal, that would kick it up to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's right.
So a little more coverage.
56 hours to 70 hours per week. What the village had done in presenting us this number for this year was, in addition to the additional coverage, they also did an analysis of their operating costs. And they run on 10-hour shifts. So they have two 10-hour shifts. And then we have the third. So they basically took the total operating budget of the police department, and they'll take care of 2/3 of it, and then they're charging us 1/3, or the $475,057. So that is a significant increase. Last year, for the 2023, it was 196,784. So that makes well, it's a 141% increase, and it will considerably affect the tax rate. Presently, it was at 0.0357. It's going to go up to 0.0861. So it is a sizable amount. Now, we do understand their need for having their shifts all be the same, because their personnel work 10-hour shifts.
Is that a new thing? Have they been doing 10 hours?
They've been doing that for quite some time.
Really?
But, so the officer who comes in to cover our 8-hour shift, well, he's got 2 hours they gotta jockey with, so that I can understand that. So we'll see. It's obviously up to the voters. We had really no other alternative this late in the game.
Yeah. Earl, the select board is backing, I guess, all the articles on the warning unanimously. Is that the case?
Yes.
Including the police.
And we're backing this article too, because, like Brian said, it was kind of late in the game to make any kind of change for any other kind of police protection, there's not a lot of options, okay?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Talking to one of the candidates for the select board in an earlier show, who's opposing that, saying, I want police coverage, but that's too much money. I said, and if that goes down, then what? He said, state police. And it was hard for me not to make the point, boy, good luck with that. I'm not sure if you think you're going to get a lot of coverage from state police. I don't think that's going to be the case, but
yeah, if you look at the incidence numbers, the village police have higher incident numbers in the town of Swanton than the Vermont State Police do.
But I mean, state police are cut thin. I think Bill Sheets, the Swanton Village manager,
they just don't have the
mentioned
manpower.
down about 50 troopers statewide or so.
Yeah.
So it just seems like if anybody thinks state police would be an even swamp for Swanton Village Police, I would think they're crazy to think that.
Wouldn't really be even. That's for sure.
No, we'd have less protection than we do now.
Yeah.
That's no doubt about that. Yeah. And I know a lot of people. The cost was such a shock to them that they may say things like that.
Yeah.
But if you go and operate the way I do, have conversations with people, you're going to find out that they do value police protection.
Yeah.
And they understand it's something that's needed, but there's a limit to how much they can afford.
Yeah.
And that's really what the heart of the issue. And to be fair, the facility that the police have now is inadequate.
Yeah.
It has to be something has to be done if we're going to have quality police protection. And Swanton Village Police Department right now. It's pretty much a consensus with most people you talk to. There are a few people that always say, the police aren't doing as good as they should, but the majority of people feel that the department's being run real well right now.
Yeah.
And it's being, it could be highly effective and make the community a better place, a safer place,
And I think a lot of people would acknowledge that they need more space, but then we get down to the proposal of a $14 million plus.
And I just want to add to what Brian was talking. Part of what, I know that $475,000 is an awful jump from what we've had. Yeah. But the police department's budget in itself is up pretty near $500,000. And you can explain there's some additional personnel and the reasons behind it. And then there was the dispatch.
The dispatch, So, the combination of things. First of all, the dispatch for Swanton PD is now being handled by St. Albans Central Dispatch, the city of St. Albans, which prior to this, for years, was always handled by the state police, but they made the decision to switch over to Central at a cost of $65,000 per year. So right there is on. They also, the employees of the police department changed their pension in through the Vermont Municipal Employees retirement system, and they changed that, and that created an increase in the village contribution to that pension. And everybody has this problem, the health insurance cost have gone up significantly.
As in double digits, I'm guessing. Often hearing like 15% or somewhere around there.
And then the other aspect was they did hire, or looking to hire, but budgeted in there, an administrative person to do, an administrative support person. So as the police department gets more active, they're very busy. Of course, with that comes paperwork, and it's very paperwork intensive running in the police department.
Did they add one more officer?
Yes, they would be.
Okay, so
also
one more
looking to add
officer
one
in
more
that
officer.
administrative position in that budget
Right,
too.
so the combination of all of that just increased their total budget up. But they feel that they need it to provide the level of service that the people in the community desire. So,
Earl, you've been, the select board, I think, has been pretty pleased with the coverage you're getting from Swanton Village PD. Is that fair to say, or?
Yeah, so I mean, we've had a few citizens' complaints here and there, but overall, they've been consistent, and we know they're going to be there. For the times.
I mean, it's not like there are a lot of options out there.
No, there isn't a lot of options, and people need to realize that.
Of course, Highgate's just about to, in a few months, going over to the sheriff's department with St. Albans City ending Highgate June 30 as they pick up St. Albans Town. And I guess Highgate has hooked up with the sheriff's department.
Yeah, my understanding is that they did receive a proposal from and I believe that the select board agreed to go for it, only because they had no other place to go. Presently, Swanton Village Police Department cannot provide coverage for Highgate, basically, and they told Highgate that. So I mean that is an issue. Is it isn't like you can go make a phone call somewhere and expect you're going to get police coverage. It's it just doesn't work that way. Long term, this is an issue in the state. And whether the state is going to step up and provide the funding necessary for the Vermont State Police to have the officers that's needed to provide the coverage. I haven't heard anything about that happening.
I assume it's not so much a funding issue. They just can't get the bodies.
Get the people.
Just can't get the people. More of a staffing. I assume if they could hire more troopers, I assume they would. Although I don't know what the money situation is.
I don't know what their policies are, but it's gotten to the point where communities are going to have to consider, doing it themselves.
Maybe some of their own police departments.
And maybe
nothing Swanton Town. You haven't given a thought to starting your own police department, I assume.
It's been mentioned, but
but I would not, having been the former Swanton Village Police Commissioner, I would not suggest they even think about that.
I mean, one option that I can see might be a way of making this affordable is that more communities get together and join
regional
in a
policing
public,
or whatever.
regional or public safety district, whatever you want to call it, so we can spread the fixed costs over a larger grant list, but it's never going to be cheap. If you look at the 8-cent tax rate here in Swanton now, that's a 5-cent increase, and also on a $250,000 home, that's $100 compared to what it was before, $360, $50, $40. But it's not realistic to think it's going to stay at that cost if we want to provide police protection.
And crime certainly doesn't seem to be like it's going down. It seems like in fact, Bill Sheets, I think, I'm accurately remembering what he said in an earlier show, just mentioning search warrants. He can, in years past, going back maybe a number of years, search warrants maybe single digits, a handful during the course of a year. I think he said it's up to, on the average, about one a week now. Just one example.
And there's quite a few of them. If you look at the statistics, a lot of them warrants were for drugs.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And, you know, that is a problem in these rural
Yeah.
communities like Swanton and,
Yeah.
you know, here in Franklin County. And, you know, we need to address that because it's causing a lot of other problems.
Yeah.
You know, stealing, breaking in, you know, stuff like that, and the mental health issues that come with that
Yeah.
are costing us a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we can't ignore it.
Yeah, sounds like the police protection issue, Article 4, certainly getting, I assume, the most attention in the town, or a lot of attention.
It
Other
is.
articles, Brian, anything of note in terms of, we got what, Highway Department, town general expenses, a couple of library issues?
Right.
Anything in particular, know with any of the other articles?
Well, on the general or regular, that budget amount is up about 29.82%.
Really?
Again, that's, well, we added one new full-time employee, and also there's some, the increase in cost of insurance, and plus there's probably there's factoring in a new employee in that insurance and whatnot, it all came up. And then just the rate of inflation. So we're looking there at $814,928. Or the tax rate would be 11, a little over 11 cents. It's 11.34 cents on the grand list. So that, again, is both the same for the town and the village. The first few categories here are the same tax rate for the town and the village. Because the village residents receive these services and they're billed through the town. Sometimes a little difficult for
Yeah,
people
sure.
to understand how that works,
Yeah.
but we're more, if anybody has any questions, we're certainly more than happy to
Yeah.
answer them. They can give us a call at the office
Yeah,
anytime.
one of the candidates just kind of kept talking as during my interview about the public safety facility, and I said, I realize that that's a big issue. That is a
Yeah.
issue before the village, for the record, but.
Yeah.
Right. The rescue squad, or ambulance,
Yeah.
Missisquoi Valley Rescue,
Yeah.
again, they're very busy, serve the community very well, but they've been extremely busy.
Are they
And-
dealing with I forget, are they dealing with Highgate now?
Yes.
Because Amcare had Highgate there for
No,
a
it's,
while.
they do
Back to
Highgate.
Missisquoi
Right,
Valley.
back to Missisquoi,
Okay.
and their appropriation from the town is going from 199,245 to the 2024 proposal was 229,761, an increase of 15.32%. So that tax rate will go for them would be 0.0320. Again, you know, their budget and everything they have in the town report, but they're faced with increased costs of doing business, and the more calls they have, naturally, the more of their expenses are.
And they switched over to this new dispatch, and there's, I think that was like $30,000.
Yeah, they were with dispatching with Middlebury, and now
Really?
they've switched back to St. Albans Central.
Oh, they were with Middlebury?
They were with Middlebury
Really?
Dispatch, yeah.
Huh.
So now they're back with St. Albans, which from a former user of the dispatch center, I'm glad to see them back with St. Albans Central,
Yeah.
as well as the PD being with St. Albans, and then the fire department's always been with Central Dispatch.
Has
Having it
Central, has
all,
St. Albans Central, they got just everybody? Is there anybody they don't have around here these days?
I think they got just about
Pretty
everybody.
much everybody?
Yeah. But I would, I think from a user of the service, I think it's like if the fire department or the ambulance is out on a call, but they need the police department, they just ask the dispatcher to get the police here. It's quicker getting the message across,
Yeah.
or vice versa. So I think is a move in the right direction. I was happy to see that. The And then the library, there's two amounts for the library.
Yeah.
First, there's the, basically the employee and benefits side of the library.
And again,
facility.
library employees are now town employees?
That's
and
correct,
That
yeah.
hadn't been the case for a long time?
No, this is starting our third
Really?
year.
Right.
Okay.
And then, so then that went from 175,382 up to 212,502.88. And the tax rate there is just a hair under 3 cents at 0.0296. And because again, there was the insurance cost and whatnot that was into that. And then the library has a second article, and that's for the programs of the library. That's like, would be more or less an appropriation to the library, and that amount was $70,900. A slight increase over last year, and so that rate comes in just under 10 cents at
There's some issues with the library. Didn't you have some
Well,
work? Is the roof the big issue?
Okay, we replaced the roof last year.
Yeah,
We have put in an internal drainage system in the basement of the original library building this year. We put in a new heating and ventilation system, air conditioning system last summer. Over the last, I would guess maybe 15 years, there was some, I guess for lack of a better term, deferred maintenance on some of this stuff. So we're trying to play catch up on that. It's a nice building. There's been a fixture there on the corner of First and Grand Avenue for well over 100 years, but it has had its share of repair costs that we're planning to play catch up on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, the big issue right now with the library is, it's very inefficient to heat.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of heat loss.
Yeah.
It's causing snow melting on the roof, which causes icing, which has been an issue. We don't have an idea yet how much it's gonna cost to fix that, or what the options are. We have, a consultant working on that right now. Hopefully they'll be bringing us a recommendation fairly soon. It's an issue that's going to need to be addressed, because long-term, if we don't address it, the building is, it's going to have a negative effect on the structure itself. Besides, we're probably spending an extra $4,000 a year easily just to heat it
Really?
in its present state. So it's something that
Talking oil heat, gas?
well,
Gas.
gas.
Yeah, talking gas.
But, it doesn't make any difference. Everything's expensive to heat when you're using fossil fuels today. So, something needs to be done. It's needed to be done for a while. It's been put off, and, it should have been addressed a long time ago.
So that's, it's kind of a continuing thing, but we'll eventually get caught up and
Yeah.
get stuff.
And on the other side of the library, part of that increase is because we did a 3.7 percent payroll increase in the town
Yeah.
for the town clerk's office and the highway department. But the library, we went 6.7, I think, or something in that range.
Just felt they needed to get a little more?
We need to be, those salaries we have are below what other libraries are. So, they felt they needed that, and, the board reluctantly agreed.
Yeah.
We did, because we were trying to keep the budgets as close as we could, we didn't want to see a major increase, but the library does run a lot of programs.
Yeah.
They're getting a lot of traffic, and it's, it is an asset for the community.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's a big asset. Sounds like it does pretty well.
So, the costs are there, and I think once we get the building straightened out, hopefully, it'll be reasonable. We can lower the total operating cost of the building itself, which, that way they can increase their programs. And, if people are using it, we're gonna have to pay the money to run it.
Yeah. And of course, you have a recreation line item. That
Yeah,
isn't-
and the recreation, that's something else that should be pointed out here.
Yeah.
If you're looking strictly at the budget for this year, it
Yeah.
says it's a 21% increase.
Yeah,
But what happened was, 2 years ago, when the COVID was in, when things were restricted,
yeah,
the budget was already approved, so there was like a $50,000 carryover. So that made last year's budget request considerably less, even though their total budget was the same. I mean, there's really isn't any increase in their budget. It just had to do with that leftover COVID money.
okay.
So, people need to understand that. They're really not asking for any more money than they normally do.
Right. And while we're on the subject of recreation, another big issue for the town, obviously, the lot of work on the
Yeah.
proposed new, at some point, community recreation center. Sounds like you're probably, I would guess, maybe even happy that that wasn't ready to be put on the ballot this March with all the other stuff.
I mean, everybody, Richard, everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody on the select board, and even the recreation commissioners,
Yeah,
after this discussion started going around
Yeah.
and the police issue came up,
yeah,
that, it would be way too much to ask,
Yeah.
way too much.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe, there is some consideration, some discussion taking place now that maybe we should take a different approach to this.
I think I started hearing a
yeah.
few rumblings about that.
So we can find another way to make this affordable, because it needs to be done, Richard.
Yeah.
You talk about the police department being inadequate, their facility, well, so isn't that rec.
Yeah.
And, they've been, I don't know, Nicole is a selectman, but she's also the recreation
Right.
director, and she's been very aggressive about pushing programs, and their numbers are going up.
Yeah,
And
and boy, and their headquarters is
yeah,
pretty,
yeah, I mean, it's
not good, pretty small.
It's very small.
It is. I mean, actually, it's kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. If you go there and you see what we have.
Sounds like what the village folks would say about the police
Yes,
department.
they're two.
Yeah.
They're two that are the same as far as the facilities are concerned,
right.
for sure. And they're both, even police protection and recreation opportunities in the community. They're
Yeah.
both very important. For building a strong community that
Yeah.
people can want to live in, and our kids might want to live in. Hopefully. So, we might have to take a different approach to address that.
Interesting. In
And
any case,
instead of waiting for the Taj Mahal, maybe we might have to come back with a different plan. And
Interesting.
then as we go into the future further and things change, then we can start adding on some of the things that we'd like to see, that were originally talked about.
and
Because
it's talking about maybe ideally not even raising enough money so you're not after any taxpayer money for this?
yes,
I
if we
guess
go,
ideally.
right, if we can go, with a phased-in type plan, we might be able to address the pressing need
Interesting.
of a facility with decent offices and activity rooms that we don't have now.
Interesting.
And then in the future, maybe we could get into doing the gym and things like that.
Makes me think of LOT, local option tax money, which of course St. Albans City and town have paid for some pretty good stuff with that. Is that, we've talked about that before, is that getting some discussion?
It has, and it's getting more discussion.
Yeah.
In fact, there is one new article in our, and that has to form this capital reserve for a
I
building.
was going to ask you, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that coming into play, that makes a local sales tax option. That's the ideal place for that.
Huh, interesting.
That way we'll have additional funding to maintain issues such as the library. And you gotta remember, that's an old facility.
Yeah.
Even if we address this, there's gonna be something in the future. Town clerk's
Sure.
office is an old facility. There's things that need done there. I mean, we got a heating system that we've been told is inadequate for that building.
Really?
There are some foundation drainage issues that are gonna have to be taken care of. There's an upstairs, quite a bit of room up there that is, that would need renovation if it was ever to be used for something. And it's kind of sad that it sits there in the middle of the village, but empty and non-usable.
Wasn't there an organization using some of the space in the library?
The Historical
The
Society is
Historical
using that.
I was
some of
thinking
that
of somebody
space.
else, but the
Yeah.
Historical Society.
Yeah. yeah,
in the
and that's
library.
another issue too, that might have to, you know, it's not a long-term solution, you know, it's been there forever and ever, but, it's not something that allows the public to really have an opportunity to view what's there.
If you moved on the LOT, the local option tax, an extra penny on the sales tax, how does that work with village? With the village trustees and town select board, I assume both have to agree to put that on the ballot, or how does that work?
We spoke with the state tax department about that.
Yeah,
Of course, keep in mind that a lot of this local option tax will come from mail order
huh,
as well.
right.
So they go by zip code.
We're
and,
talking one zip code for Swanton.
Right. And so they will prorate it. They said it's prorated.
Huh.
So how they come up with that formula, I don't know the specifics, but we would have to probably get the village on board with it somehow. I don't know how we would do that. We didn't really
But
get
it
into
would,
that.
it would be a separate vote.
But it would-
each-
Yeah.
It'd be a separate vote.
Yeah.
But if one didn't do it, then I don't know how the state could differentiate just using zip code.
Well, it sounds a little
You know,
complicated.
it'd be a little bit
Yeah,
complicated.
of course, the state's more than happy to take 30% of the
course.
revenue, of
Of
course.
course, so-
Gotta think the state would be happy if every community in the state had an LOT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, we have to find some sources of income or growth in the grand list if we're gonna, you know, really make a lot of these things we're talking about affordable.
Yeah,
Because, you know, on our present grand list, the impact is just getting too much, you know.
and how, I mean, ideally, getting some new industry, and again, having had new businesses,
Well, that's not an easy thing to do in this day and
Sure.
age, you
Sure.
know, and in this state anyways. I mean, you know, employees are a problem all over to get help, you know, infrastructure, issues and cost, permitting, are difficult. I know that, you know, we're trying to make a bigger push for, the southern growth district over here that we call, off the exit there, the interstate.
near exit 20, yeah.
We do have the state garage going up there right now, but that's not a grand, that's not gonna add to our grand list. And we listened to a proposal last night at our meeting from the National Guard. They wanna combine the Swanton and the St. Albans Armory at a new facility next to the, state garage.
No, really.
Yeah, but here again, that's not a grand list, you know, it's not something that's gonna generate taxes,
Yeah.
tax money. But,
Well, it sounds like obviously no easy
No.
way to generate more
but the
revenue.
only hope would be that maybe we can find some revenue, some other outside funding to do some infrastructure.
Yeah,
You know, sit down, we need to sit down with the city of St. Albans and see what's realistic. If it would be available in that area, if it could be extended in there, and maybe, you know, with this armory going up, there might be some way that we can, you know, get our federal delegation to appropriate some money, you know, to help with that infrastructure, which would lead to more development in that area for sure. If you've got infrastructure, water and sewer are big things. There's a lot going on, you know, this tech hub thing they're talking about. I don't know how familiar you are, if you've heard much about it, but
not a little bit, not much.
and you know, that's something that Vermont got federal funding specifically, is one of the few states in the nation that did. You know, and it's more or less to set up incubator space for tech companies, and you know, being the need for economic development in rural areas, you know, I think Franklin County would definitely qualify for that. Maybe we should be making a bigger push for that. The other thing that's happened that I saw on the news, and I think it might lead to future things, is the amount of money that has been allocated to Global Foundries. So we can do more manufacturing here.
Big news.
You know, and that
recent
might
news.
take some secondary or subcontractor type things, you know, that, and maybe this might be in a location. And then there's the need for additional affordable housing. And it's very difficult to do affordable housing without municipal services because of density. You know, you just can't get that density without those services.
Yeah,
So, you know, that holds a lot of potential, but for one thing, we don't own any of the land in town. It's all privately owned. And these people are entitled to do you know, what they can with their land, and most of them the plan is to do something with it. Whether it comes out, what ends up happening is going to be as beneficial as it could be to not just Swanton, because I think this is really a Franklin County issue. You know, that remains to be seen. If we can get involved and we can offer them a better way to do it and get it done, you know, maybe we can get them to work with the landowners to work with us. But right now, we don't have anything to bring to the table.
Right.
But we are trying to, because we feel it's important.
Getting back to the Community Rec Center, from an earlier show, I think, were you looking for someone, to hire someone to really go after grants for the Community Rec Center?
Yeah.
Is that still are you still trying to hire somebody at this point?
Yeah.
Or planning to?
Yeah, and I guess our first round didn't go very good.
It didn't go very well.
Just not impressed with the candidates, or?
Right. They were not, we received 3. 2 were from out of state, and I mean really from out of state, a long ways. So there was that consideration. We were trying to find somebody more local, at least in Vermont. So they sent them out again.
Boy, just 3. Were you surprised you didn't get a lot more than 3?
I was very surprised. So I'm part of that committee. It consists of Nicole Draper and Betsy Fournier of the Rec Commission, and myself. So we sent them out again, and we received 1 back. That was from a Vermonter, and so we're the 3 of us are going to discuss it and then get back to the board to see what we can do. But no, I was quite honestly shocked that we didn't get any,
that seems a little surprising to me too.
Yeah.
Right. In the first round, one of them was from Vermont, from southern Vermont. It was, it was a pretty impressive resume and all, but just didn't seem to experience in looking for the size grants that we are looking for.
And that's where, if we're going to maybe take a different approach to this, maybe start smaller, so to speak, it might be easier to get grant money too. Yeah. And, because we were looking for a fairly large fund if we were going to go with the initial proposal. So if that proposal gets scaled back, we still have $600,000 of ARPA money. There was some discussion possibly that we could use more of the ARPA money because we do have about $460,000 non-committed. Really? And we're going to have to do something with that.
And what's your deadline? Is it 2026 sometime?
It's got to be. It has to be committed by the end of this year.
By the end of this year.
But by the federal guidelines, committed means not just being set aside. It means actually a contract signed in place, ready to spend it.
As in shovel ready or whatever.
Right. So, in Vermont, the term shovel ready isn't really applicable.
But
there is a fair amount of money that you haven't allocated at this point for that.
460-something thousand. That's not been allocated, and basically been sort of keeping that back to see what we needed what the cost at the library are going to be. But you should explain the rest of that. Brian, about what's going to happen, because Swan's not the only town in this position.
No, and I'll try to explain this as best as I can, as best as I know.
And I won't press you on explaining education funding.
No, this is easier than that. So, as Earl pointed out, Swanton is far from being the only town in the municipality in the nation that's faced with this problem, that we haven't been able to get the money spent. So our town clerk and treasurer, Kathy Fournier, was attending a webinar on this very issue, and this is put on by the VLCT,
Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
And they said that the government is faced with this problem, so if worst case scenario is Congress is afraid they'd come back and have to take the money back, and they didn't want to do that. So they have passed a law that will allow the municipalities that have this leftover money that has not been spent yet to pass a resolution and spend it on their municipal operation.
Oh, really? Interesting.
And then that's going to create a surplus at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then you can use that to fund what you were going to fund for the ARPA. Now,
Interesting.
in the old days,
Yeah.
we were thinking of something like that, you'd probably end up going to jail.
Really?
But I guess it's all right if Congress says it's all right. So we're awaiting some written verification of that, but we have to have the select board sign the resolution to do that by the end of March. So hopefully we'll get that in writing and get it signed probably at the organizational meeting on March 6th.
Interesting. So the ARPA, there's plenty of things you could spend it on, but you're just trying to wait to see what most needs kind of your attention for that?
Yeah.
It's not like there's nothing you could spend that money on.
No, we could spend 3, 4, 5, 10 times that, okay? It's not a problem.
Right.
It's just that I think the select board has been somewhat cautious, other than the initial 600,000 that was set aside for the rec center. You know, because it has, if you look at the numbers in this book, we've already spent a fair amount on the library this year and last year. You put the two together, I think we're over 100,000. So, you know, we've had that money. We've done some repairs at the town clerk's office. You know, we updated our website. We put a new website in. Things like that, you know, we've done. We've used it for to match our match on the LRVT, which is
Memorial Valley
90,
Rail Trail.
30,000 for the trailhead, 90,000.
90,000?
Yeah, that's a set aside for that. You know, so
And that'll happen this year? That'll happen?
We hope so,
hope so.
yes, that's the intent.
yeah, hopefully construction will start sometime later this summer.
Yeah.
Right now, it looks like everything's in place.
And I guess the state did a good job after the flooding. The line was, hey, we're not going to even have it totally open until later in 2024, but they got it done. I guess it's now totally open.
And
Unfortunately, not a heck of a lot of snow for the snowmobilers out there. And for the record, they're Key Vast, Vermont Association of Snow Travelers. I'm not sure a lot of people know that. They're pretty much the key people, it seems like, with these rail trails.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, I mean, we've had the funds to be able to do those things, and, you know, the state actually, with the rail trail grant money that they had, we put it in an additional request because they estimated the cost of this trailhead to go up, and that got approved too. It increased our match, but, you know, we did cover that with the ARPA, that increase of the ARPA money. So, you know, it's done some useful things to let us, you know, try to get caught up a little bit.
And hopefully, obviously, that'll get you some more traffic in town and stuff. We'll see what happens, you know, with its first full season coming up.
It's going to take some organization, and you know, it's probably going to take some promotion. But yes, there's a lot of potential there.
Chris, well, just yesterday morning, I got in and there was an email from a gentleman that he and his wife are intending on using the trail. They're from out of state, Delaware. They were looking for overnight parking. In Swanton, so since the trailhead won't be ready, but I referred him, I forwarded his email to Bill Sheets at the village because they have overnight parking up there, right in its close proximity. And Bill got right on it, and so we have to work together, and that's certainly what you know what we're doing, and that was the first and farthest away that we've received an inquiry, so it's hopefully it certainly won't be the last, I'm sure.
Sounds like Bill Sheets mentioned, Brian, that you guys talk to each other just everyone. Sounds like you talk to each other pretty frequently.
Well, at least once, maybe twice a week.
Really?
And we do get together, as well as all the town administrators and town managers, village managers get together.
Every month or so,
every
or not
couple
that?
of months, and we're going to do that. We're scheduled to do that tomorrow.
Sounds
in
like a
Highgate,
good idea.
just to, you know, see what everybody's up to, and That's what, tomorrow, I'll break away from the office to go have lunch
Yeah.
at Highgate. Yeah.
Village and town relations, it sounds like over the years, the village and town have done pretty well. I know you meet. Sounds like the police issues has that frayed things a little bit, or is it certainly giving you a lot to talk about, but you're
Well,
still doing okay?
It is an issue that we have to be careful about,
Yeah.
for sure. And, I don't want people to think that, we don't appreciate the village police department
Yeah.
and what it does and what it offers and the potential it has. Sometimes when you're saying, no, we can't do this because it's too much, they're thinking that I don't want people to think that we don't appreciate the services that they provide.
Yeah,
Has it really frayed it? I don't think it has.
Yeah.
It's created a lot of discussion.
Yeah.
And, there's going to be further discussion for sure after town meeting.
yeah. Something tells me you're right about that.
Yeah. But it's a big change for the town if we're going to get into basically the police business. We haven't been.
Yeah,
And one of the problems is because of the way the governance structure is set up and the village charter and this and that, we really don't have any ownership.
yeah,
And that does bother a lot of town residents.
Mm.
And, maybe it's important, but maybe it's not, because where's it gonna go?
yeah.
It's always gonna serve Swanton, and if we all pay the same, then we all benefit in the same way. Is it really critical who owns it?
Yeah,
Probably not. It's not like a typical business world,
Yeah.
This is a community thing. But, it's brought up some things, but has it frayed? No. I think we're still having conversations.
Makes me think of, I'm sure I've asked this question before, Swanton Village Police Department, Fire Department, I'm not sure I'm ever totally, is it the Swanton Fire Department?
No,
Or Swanton Village?
it's Swanton Village.
It's Swanton
However,
Village FD also, but a different arrangement kind of?
Well, similar arrangement, it's just less
Yeah.
money, but,
But I mean, you're not contract, I mean, you
No.
obviously get coverage from the
Right.
fire department.
That's right.
It's not like you're having to, it's not like you have to ask voters to approve X number, it's just money
Well,
in your
No, yes,
budget.
No, we do.
Yes,
We do.
Well,
Yeah.
have to
Oh, so
have-
that is-
there's an
that is a
article.
separate-
Yeah, it
This
is a
year,
separate
is
article.
Okay, my mistake.
is $296,216.
No, in fact, it's right
Yeah.
in front of me,
Yeah.
sorry, so that is,
so that's,
so that is similar, I
yeah.
guess, huh? But it is the Swanton Village Fire
It
Department.
is Swanton
Yes.
Village Fire Department now.
And you're, of course, a former longtime
Right.
fire department
And,
member, right?
but the trucks, only one truck says actually Swanton Village Fire Department. On all the other trucks, I'll say Swanton
Maybe
Fire
that's why
Department.
I'm confused
Yeah,
about
and
that.
Brian knows better on the history of this, but
Yeah.
basically for years, the fire department has been funded based on the grand
Yeah.
list, even though it's owned by the village because it serves all of Swanton.
Yeah,
The village police department was never done like that. That's, that's something that was completely new.
okay.
Yeah.
Here's our coverage if you want
Yeah.
it, but,
Yeah.
so it is a little different situation.
Right.
How is the FDA? Are they in pretty good shape equipment-wise?
Oh, excellent shape.
Yeah, good shape.
Equipment-wise, yeah.
Yeah, it's-
As far as I know, they were a year ago, but no, the trucks are reasonably new. They're, I think, very well equipped, probably one of the best equipped in Franklin County,
Yeah.
if not the state. So I think.
No, and they have a capital reserve fund for
Yeah.
replacing equipment,
Right.
so things have
Yeah.
been done pretty much on
Yeah.
time, and,
Yeah.
everybody thinks we have a really good department, and we do.
Yeah.
And, they respond very well to the citizens. And people are gonna say, we're gonna support it,
Yeah,
because of their record.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the last thing I
Yeah.
would think you'd have a
Yeah.
problem getting.
Very,
approval
very
for.
similar to the rescue squad.
Yeah.
Very similar to the rescue
Yeah.
squad, yeah. I mean,
Interesting. Brian, this is your second budget you're working on as town administrator for Swanton Town, number two?
Actually, probably number 3.
No, maybe number 3.
Number 3.
Doesn't get any easier, more work, more complicated?
Well,
or-
the bulk of the work is done by Kathy Fournier, the town treasurer.
Yeah.
She does the bulk of the work. I do try to make sure all the departments get all their requests in to get on the agenda of the select board, and then we sit down and have to make sure everything balances out and that the numbers are correct in the town report. We proofread the town report. Several of us do in the office several times, and we still miss something. And I will mention to the people, for the viewers, that if they are looking at the town report, which is available, it's been distributed out to a variety of businesses throughout the town and village. We are lacking the budget for the library in there. It's just
The town
the town portion
portion.
just didn't make it into the report. And we apologize for that. However, if they would like it, we have copies available at the town office, and or if they'd like, they can give us a call. We'll email it to them.
And that portion, the town's portion, basically is salaries, the insurance, and build and maintenance. You know, the day-to-day running, the books, the programs, that's all in the library's budget, which is in here. So,
Well, I think, and Brian, I think hanging over everything, nothing I have to tell you folks, but it just seems like the school tax, property tax issue just seems like it's hanging over everything, getting a ton of attention. Of course, Earl, you're a former MVU school board member, right?
yes, and,
Well,
you
you're
know.
probably not, it's probably not a job you're wishing for at this moment, I wouldn't think, but.
Well, no, and it's gotten so complicated that nobody understands it, and every time the legislators make changes in the thing, it just seems to make it worse. And I don't have any answers to it, but I can tell you this, Richard, that it was something that was on our minds all through the budget process.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, and
I mean, I've made the point that I think it's just become such an issue. I feel a little bad for any municipality looking for any kind of big, especially local project. Boy, I just think it's just going to make it that much tougher with so much concern about, understandable concern about the school situation. But it is. It just seems like, Brian, it seems like that's always been an issue, but it's too complicated, but have things just gotten a whole lot more complicated over the years?
Yes, they have, I think, and the more they try to fix it, the worse it's getting.
Because you hear that about what Act 127, just all the unintended consequences of 5% cap. And the legislature now trying to do something, but geez, you know, this is, a few weeks before town meeting day.
Right. To me, there is something inherently wrong with the funding system if the average Vermonter cannot sit and calculate what they estimated their taxes to be.
I would totally agree with you.
And I thought I was, my first time in the legislature, I asked at a caucus, and the people there from the Joint Fiscal Office, I said, I've got a problem here, I just don't understand this. And they said, well, nobody does. Nobody does.
So that's the word you got in your first year down there.
So, and it certainly hasn't improved since.
Boy, it just seems like it's too bad they just can't totally scrap it and build it back, but I guess good luck doing that, huh?
Well, maybe they ought to go back to the old way of doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe they ought to be teaching kids how to read and write and write in cursive. And get rid of the phones and computers and all that stuff, and maybe we might be better off.
I hear you. We're down about 6.5 minutes. Any especially budget issues?
There's a couple of things I want to bring up here. Just so people know, and this is kind of shocking to me, because I'm on Medicare or Medicaid, whatever it is now.
I can relate.
Yeah, okay. The family plan that we have now, and everybody needs to understand, there's only 2 insurance companies you can deal with here in the state of Vermont for health insurance, Blue Shield, Blue Cross, and MVP. This family plan costs $38,783 a year.
You said 38,000.
Yes, I said 38,000. Okay. Now our employees, I believe, pay 14% of that, which is higher than a lot of other businesses. Not the highest, but there's also a $1,500 deductible on that policy, so it's not the top of the line policy. Okay. We do have a health savings account to help with the deductible.
And if folks don't take that, do you give them some? Will you give them some? No, we don't do that.
No.
They either take it or don't take it.
Right.
And Now, here's for a couple. This would be just a husband and wife.
Yeah.
$27,349
Wow.
a year. So when we added one family plan on our payroll this year,
Wow.
and one couple,
Yeah.
right there, you're looking at, 50, 60 some odd.
Wow.
And then over a 12% increase in the rate across the board
Yeah.
for everybody else that's covered. So
Wow.
instead of last year, we had budgeted 38,000 something for insurance. Now we're up to 100,000, and that's in the general fund. So, and that's where the increase in the whole budget came from. There's a little bit down in there. There's a line item for land use regulations. We applied for a grant to update our zoning bylaws. It didn't come. We didn't get it. So we used 12,000 out of the ARPA money to get started last year, and we've had to budget another 8,000 in there. These are all small stuff.
Yeah.
Janitor supplies. If anybody looks at that line, they're going to see that's doubled. But our janitor retired, and what we were paying him. We're not going to get anybody to do it for that
Yeah.
anymore. I mean, that started, I don't know how many years ago, Brian, and
years.
really never got paid any, very small increases. And now we had to find somebody else to do it, and now we
I'm
got
impressed
today's
you did find somebody at
Oh,
least?
yeah, we did, yeah.
good.
Yeah, we did. We also, under the appropriations this year, we added 3,000 in for the Abenaki food pantry.
Okay, sounds like they do a great job
Oh, they
with
do.
that.
And it's getting a lot of use, and so we felt it was highly appropriate because of how they're serving the community that, the town helped.
I interviewed
contribute
Chief
to it.
Brenda
Yeah.
Gagne a while back,
Yeah.
but no, it sounds like they do a great job
Yeah,
with that.
they do.
So, we felt that it was important that a thing for the community that we should be involved in.
What about, I know the
supporting it.
field days folks were looking for
We
some
didn't
bucks.
approve that money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an easy decision because it isn't that we don't value
Sure.
the field days, but because of all these budget issues, these
Yeah.
insurance issues, the issues with the school tax,
Yeah.
we were kind of nickel and dime everything that we possibly could.
Highgate's got it on the ballot, letting voters, I think, a
Yeah.
$5,000
Yeah.
appropriation if
Yeah.
voters go
Yeah.
for it.
And maybe that would have been an appropriate way for us to do it, but it
Yeah.
didn't come up in the discussion.
Yeah. I guess we're getting what, I guess one more year out by the airport,
Yeah.
one more year, I guess, for the
That's
field days.
my understanding, yeah.
But, there's only so much we can do, and
Yeah.
those are some of the highlights of the general budget. Other than that, and as I said before, the salary increases were 3.7%, which is what they call, what do you call that?
Cost of living?
Yeah, cost of something,
Yeah.
yeah. The highway budget, we did a little finagling on there.
Down to about 2 minutes, Earl.
Okay.
All yours, but 2 minutes.
What we did, if anybody looks at this, at the road improvement thing, is actually less than last year, but we are still committed to the Swanton Hill project. It's probably going to cost more than what we got in here, but the board felt that because of all these other issues and the taxes being what they are and our concern over the tax rate, we decided that if we have to, we'll pay it. We're only appropriate $250,000 this year, 162, whatever it is, and whatever comes over, we'll pay for next year. Spread it out over 2 years, and even if we have to pay for the whole thing this year, we can use our credit line, then the budget to get it approved.
And one of these years, we might see some work out on Route 78 in West Swanton. Is that conceivable? Is that still
It's
keeps getting
conceivable.
It's
pushed back?
conceivable, but I'm not quite sure exactly when,
Yeah.
but they keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah. They're in the right of way heavy,
Yeah.
securing right of ways. So
Yeah, is that
I mean,
right?
Yes.
it's and
They've secured the right of ways
Oh,
from
really?
the town,
yeah,
so.
private property owners have been approached.
Well, 1 minute.
All right, I just want people to understand that, the board is well aware of the cost of property taxes in the town of Swanton, and it was a big part of our budget when we were doing it. It is up more than I guess I can honestly say that everybody on the board feels that, we'd like to seen it less, but we didn't see much else we could do. We need to keep our employees. We need to be competitive in that way, and we do have good employees, and they're doing a really good job for the community. And their pay is just average. I mean, they're not. Nobody's going to get rich working for the town of Swan.
Yeah.
You make a living. So, and I hope people support it. And really do hope they, you know, give this police article consideration. And, you know, maybe it's more than they'd like to see, but really, it's the best thing we can do for the town right now.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks to Earl
All right.
Fournier, the Swanton Select Board Chairman, running unopposed for a 3-year term. Brian Savage, the Swanton Town Administrator. A lot going on. Hopefully you'll see a pretty good turnout on town meeting day.
That's what I'm hoping to.
Thanks for your time. Thanks to my producer, Alan Cunningham. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. We appreciate you watching us here on Northwest Access TV. See you next time.